we welcome new Gators assistant coach, former director of basketball strategy and analytics, Jonathan Safir, to the show. Jonathan, pleasure having you on today, my friend.
Welcome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely, man. Well, we wanted to have you on a couple weeks ago. You guys have had what I would imagine is a hell of a schedule over the last couple of months since you guys won the national championship. You guys were in DC, San Diego, I think LA, Indianapolis, all over the place. And then a couple weeks ago, you were slated to come on and you guys were doing a recruiting visit that obviously paid off. But what has the last 6 weeks or so been since you guys won that national championship?
Yeah, I mean, it's been exciting, exhilarating, and exhausting. Obviously, we were fortunate enough to be the last team standing, playing on Monday night and winning. As I think we've said before now, it should not be where one's winning negatively impacts their portal recruiting. It should be beneficial, right? Winning and playing longer into the Final Four and winning the national championship should help your recruiting. Obviously, with the portal opening 2 weeks prior to the Final Four, a lot of teams that had starting players signed, which obviously after we were fortunate enough to win it all, we celebrated, as we all should, and then turned right to player retention and portal stuff. And between being the last team standing and then having a player, Alex Condon, make a decision going through the draft process and not deciding until May 27th or May 28th, being one of the last teams, kind of finishing up with the NBA draft process stuff. It's been a whirlwind, that's for sure.
Well, and not only that, you lost 2 assistant basketball coaches. You got promoted into one of the new roles. You guys go and hire NYU's coach to be the other assistant coach. So for you personally, it's been beyond just winning the national championship. It's you getting acclimated to this new role. I want to ask you, just based on your last few years here in Gainesville, and then obviously your time with Todd Golden, talk to us a little bit about that transition from the University of San Francisco to the University of Florida. You guys have a head coach that's nicknamed Portal God Todd. You guys have really gone out and captured the transfer portal. You've done great in high school recruiting, but talk to us a little bit about that transition and how early did you think that this would kind of all catch on? And did you guys think that you'd be this successful this early in what looks to be building very sustainable success?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd all be naive in lying to you if we sat here and said we thought we would win the national championship in year 3. But I think our goal was to try and make the second weekend as quickly as possible. And the second weekend should be an attainable goal for any blue blood or program of that caliber, because once you make the second weekend, you've had a very successful season. At that point, a lot of luck is involved. You need players to stay healthy, players to make shots, other teams to miss shots. There's just a lot of things and a lot of variables that go into play, and having to win 6 different best of ones and just consistently getting to the second weekend or really just making the second weekend is what we kind of thought was the standard of a successful season. So that was kind of our goal. But I thought we had a chance to be successful, obviously with this group relatively early on, but even last year, the jump we made from year 1 to year 2, kind of instilling and installing our new offensive system, going from the way we played in year 1 to adjusting and adapting to playing 3 guards and 2 bigs, and kind of just trying to impose our will and win the line of scrimmage, for lack of a better term, showed that we had a workable blueprint and game plan that we could execute. And then we were able to fine tune it over the course of a pretty successful second year. And then obviously made quite the jump, going from 24 wins to 36-4 in the national champs in year 3.
Jonathan, quick question, man. I know Todd Golden is a heavy analytical guy. How much of analytics versus real life field touch for the game do you guys kind of weigh on with from player acquisition, rotation with the roster, like in every aspect?
Yeah, I think analytics impact everything that we do in all aspects of our program, whether, to your point, Corey, whether it's in-game decision-making, 2-for-1s, playing guys through foul trouble, end-of-half fouling. Obviously, you saw the Texas Tech game, end-of-game fouling, scheduling, trying to schedule the right teams, quad 1s, quad 2s, and then some lesser-by opponents, player development, player evaluation, portal recruiting, high school recruiting. You name it. There's not a thing in our program that doesn't have an analytical lens and vantage point to it. But also, to your point, the human element goes into a lot of this stuff, and making sure guys kind of are not too bogged down while they're playing, right? Like we could we could play against Todd Pettiford in the Final Four and know that he's really wants to get left. And we could know the stats that once he takes a second or third or fourth dribble going left versus going right, or his finishing percentages. But what we know does not matter. It's what Walter Clayton and Will Richard and Elijah Martin know and can process. And we just want them to know that, hey, he's really good going left. He's not that great going right. And then when he gets around the basket, if it's with his right hand, just defend this guy without fouling, make him kind of finish over us, and just kind of have that stuff in their head, as opposed to, hey, on that second dribble going left, he falls to 30%, but going right, he's only 18%, or on the first dribble going left, he's really in rhythm at 55%. We know those numbers, but we try and do as good of a job as we can, not bogging our guys down with too much.
Man, that was a great answer.
Yeah, that was a good spot right there.
Oh, well spoken, man. I got more like just game questions. How did you celebrate? Like, I know you guys had, like, you enjoyed the win. Y'all went on the run, but personally, what was the celebration like for you? How did you enjoy when the final confetti dropped? What was it like for Jonathan?
Yeah, it was crazy, man. I was fortunate enough to have my wife there, and then my parents, her parents, my brother, my sister, a couple buddies of mine. So it was awesome. When the final confetti went off, I think there was a big group hug with Coach Golden and Coach Hubby and myself, and then just kind of shook their hands and didn't really know what to do, and saw the confetti falling and who to hug and what to do. I know separately the moment. You can kind of see in the back of my screen, there's a picture of us in the Final Four after we won the Final Four game, or after we won the Elite Eight game to go to the Final Four. And I'll never forget, obviously, that was quite the heroic comeback. But when my wife was fortunate enough to get on the floor, just seeing her, she was just crying her eyes out of excitement and enthusiasm. It was a special moment for me.
Have you gotten the chance to, like, settle in that you guys are national champions? Because, like I said, you had to hit the transfer portal, which you guys did exceedingly well. You guys got a couple of top prospects that were in the transfer portal. You had to get through signing day with Ingram and the rest of them. You had to go and travel all this way. Has it really, like, settled in that you guys have won the national championship and that you're going to go into next season likely as a top 5 team? Expectations are going to be different, but talk to me about, like, how you've mentally processed all that, because you've just been jet setting all over the U.S. since you guys
got it all. Like, you got a new job, like everything.
Yeah. Honestly, no. I don't think it's setting really for any of us, right? We kind of laugh about it like we're national champs, and just it's still surreal. But you're right, because one thing led to the next in terms of job-wise, player-wise, retention-wise, portal-wise, travel-wise, NBA Combine-wise, to check in on Kondo and watch and support him, and then obviously Walt and Elijah and Will and Ruben at the G League Combine. So there's just been a lot going on that we have not really had a chance to slow down. And we have guys coming back right now over this course of the next 4 or 5 days, and then we start summer workouts on Monday. So it's kind of just one thing to the next. But to your point, it'll be a totally different situation, atmosphere, mindset, right? Because last year we started the year, I think preseason ranked 21 or something. We're able to sneak up on foes. There won't be any sneaking up on people this year. We're going to get people's best shots every single night. Sure. And we're gonna have expectations in media and coverage and discussions about the Florida Gators from now until we tip the ball up on November 3rd, and then from November 3rd until hopefully the last game of the season next year on April 8th or whatever it is, on that Monday night in Indianapolis next year. And that's just the reality. Fortunately for us, I don't know if there's anybody better to discuss expectations and environments and all the above, and having been there and done that, then one of our assistants in Torian Greens. I think he'll play a huge role in just kind of managing it all. And that goes for obviously the championship returners and the key players, Tommy and Kondo and Ruben and Micah. But it goes for Boogie and Xavier too. They're coming in. The team that the Florida Gators they're coming into is different. That program is different than the program and expectations wise than the one that Elijah Martin joined last year, the one that Ruben Chinyelu joined last year, the one that Walter Clayton joined 2 years ago. So it comes with a lot. You guys saw, I think you guys saw Elijah's quote. I'm sure you saw Elijah's quote after we won the national championship. If you don't put on that jersey, don't consider coming to Florida if you don't want the smoke.
For real.
Yeah.
So obviously the national championship was the best game hands down for you, but any other game to you throughout the course of the season that was real memorable for you, and or you just saw the players really come together and as one to kind of be like, wow, you really got a chance? Like, was there any game in the point of the season that kind of had you feeling like we could do this?
The UNC game, which is basically a road game in Charlotte with about 90% UNC fans and a packed Charlotte Hornets Stadium.
Right, that's hard.
When we're down 4 at the under 4 media after having a comfortable first half lead, and then I think up 9 or so at halftime, and then them snap and then coming back right away to start the second half. We're then down 4, 81-77, I think it was, or whatever it was at the under 4 media. And Elijah just sitting there, the experience that part of our recruiting cell and having him was how he'd been there before and been to where we want to go, which was the Final Four at FAU. Just sitting there saying it's winning time, and not breaking stride and not looking nervous and just staying calm and like, let's go, guys. It's what we practice for. It's winning time. And we went out and won that final 4 minutes by 8. I think that was a key turning point just in terms of our mentality more than anything. Obviously, UNC turned out to be just okay relative to some of our other opponents. So not necessarily a turning opponent, but a turning point in terms of the mentality of like, we're here. And then from a national relevance standpoint in top 5 status, the home win by 30 against Tennessee, and then beating Auburn by 9 on the road in the game we're up by 20, I think, in parts of the second half without Elijah Martin. We're obviously like, holy cow, we got a chance.
Yeah, I think Elijah Martin don't get enough credit for all he's done this season. Everybody on the Walter Clayton train, but obviously both of them are phenomenal players. But just looking at Elijah's game, I feel like he came from nothing. Both of them came from nothing, and honestly, I think he deserves just as much flowers as Walter, to be honest.
I think we had the best backer in the country. I think Walt was probably arguably the best player in the country. I thought Elijah was maybe one of the most impactful and, like you said, most underrated. But don't sleep on Will. Will was obviously fantastic, and Denzel's really good for us throughout the course of the year too, in a fourth guard role. So,
yeah. How do you get? Go ahead, Corey.
Just I want to just speak on the mentality real quick that you was talking about. Just from a mentality standpoint, you guys also had to endure a lot. As far as off the court, just distractions. And I think you guys did a great job. It's hard to win a championship with that many distractions. So even though you guys are going to step into next year with, those expectations on you, and it's going to be a little bit tougher in that aspect, I think you guys did a very good job. I would like to know what the locker room sound like what type of rhetoric and what type of coaching from a mental standpoint that you're giving these guys to be able to shake the distractions and stay focused on the task at hand.
Yeah, I assume you mean from this past year. And I think that was Elijah played a huge role in that. Obviously, we're not in the locker room day to day before practice or things of that nature, but we're around the guys and then talk to them after the game and things of that nature. But I just think the experience, the composure, the mentality, the mindset all played huge and vital roles. And then just honestly having great competitors. Ruben Chinyelu, Alex Condon, Thomas Houck, of course, the backcourt we talked about, Micah Hanlock. And these guys are just winners in the game of life. And they're going to be successful, hopefully playing basketball for a long time post the University of Florida, but successful whenever they do. And that really goes top to bottom for this roster. We had a roster that was super well connected, had great chemistry. Everyone knew their role, accepted their role. And then really the key part is they all started the role.
I want to ask, kind of transition to this year. You guys went out and got Xavier Lee from Princeton. You go and get AJ Brown from Ohio. Then you go get Boogie Fland. You get Chinyelu back. You get Kondo back. Talk to me a little bit about how you guys went and targeted who you guys did in the transfer portal, because all of that is happening while you guys are trying to go to DC to celebrate the national championship. You guys are coming back from the championship game. The transfer portal is open when you guys are playing. So how did you go about attacking the transfer portal and deciding who was going to, join the Gators staff or the Gators team next year? Because I would imagine that there was quite a bit of interest from those that were in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think it was difficult, right? You're trying to just keep your ear to the ground a little bit on the transfer portal. And Coach Golden was very adamant and strategic, and that we're not doing much, if any, recruiting while we're playing. It's not fair to the guys we currently have. It's not fair to the run we're on. And also the roster we had: Tommy, Kondo, Irby, Denzel, Micah, Ruben, Sam. A lot of these guys had eligibility left, and if they all were able to, if we were fortunate enough to retain them all, we would only need a piece or two. Like we needed to be incredibly selective and strategic and focus on the task at hand, but also worry about the ones we currently have, not the ones we don't. So we did not spend a ton of time in the portal. We're kind of just doing a little due diligence and trying to get a lay of the land of the market in today's transfer portal and NIL landscape, but did not aggressively recruit really anybody. And then, when the season ends, we got to flip the page and have our end of year meetings and meet with their families or agents or camps and kind of figure out what they want to do with regards to hopefully returning. And then for Tommy and Ruben and Kondo, specifically going through the draft process. Tommy obviously ended up not going through the draft process, but that was a consideration, and just kind of playing through all that stuff in the scenarios and the situations. And as a staff, we're incredibly supportive of guys going through the draft process because they get feedback from NBA teams that you can't replicate. We can tell them about how hard they're playing on defense or areas that we want them to improve defensively or the missed blockouts. As much as we want until we're blue in the face, but we ultimately still have a Florida logo on. The second you can get them in a room with the Clippers or the Celtics or the Lakers, and they tell them, hey, to improve your NBA stock, you have to focus on defense for the next year. It really, the guys listen to it, and it's great. It makes our jobs easier and life's easier, and it's great feedback. And it's
right.
They've earned, right? They've earned the right to go if they have great workouts and team falls in love, and you can go get a first round promise or a top 20 promise, depending on who you are. You should go do it. But reality is not a lot of people can get that, and Florida's an awesome alternative.
Already, man. Hey, my motto for last year, and I think he's gonna get an expanded role. I'm gonna ask you a question about my man Hawk. If you want to win, put 10 in. That's been my motto, man. You gotta play 10. How you expect his game to expand, maybe in the offense and in the team? But also, like, what can he also improve to maybe take that jump to the pros as well?
Yeah, I think we're going to start him at the 3 instead of the 4. He'll also play backup 4, so he'll play probably a decent amount of time at the 3 and whatever minutes Connor doesn't play at the 4. And I think that'll be a great challenge for him to kind of show to the next level to the NBA teams his versatility, his ability to guard multiple positions, his kind of Swiss Army knife capabilities. And then I think to make that next jump is really just putting it all together consistently. Obviously, we saw it down the stretch. When Kondo went down, he played really well for those 4 or 5 games and played really well, obviously, throughout the month of March, specifically the Texas Tech game and in different situations and moments where he stepped up in the Auburn game as well. And I think just doing that every night, going from being the 6th man to a top 1, 2, 3 player on next year's roster, just the difference is you can't only produce 2 every 3 nights. It needs to be 38 out of 40 nights.
You guys have a lot of players returning that have a lot of chemistry together. Then you add a couple of new guys, the 1 and the 2, you're going to be bringing on some high school recruits into the program. How do you guys work on that chemistry and obviously continue to build the existing chemistry that already exists with Kondo, Hawk, and Shinielu, who have played together for a long time? And then you add in a Boogie, you add in a Brown, you add in a Lee, you add in an Ingram. How do you work through that transition process?
Yeah, continuity is incredibly important, and it's something we've tried to pride ourselves on in retention of our key guys to as strong a degree as possible. And then the chemistry part, you hope you kind of drill it in recruiting by recruiting guys with great attitudes, great work ethics, and guys who really want to be Florida Gators. And if they check all 3 of those boxes, then generally not only will they succeed, but they'll approach each day the right way and have a desire to work together with their teammates to sacrifice towards a common goal. And once you've got that, it's kind of putting the melting pot together and kind of stirring it all up in the summertime and having workouts together and going through some battles together and some sweat equity together. And then just some team bonding activities too, kind of tying it all together. And hopefully that by the time our summer period ends in the end of July, these guys, they already feel like brothers, and then they go home for 2 or 3 weeks and come back ready to attack a new season in August.
Love it. You guys got any final questions before we let them get out of here?
No, I know this team's gonna be totally different. I like we already talked about acquisitions you guys made in the transfer portal. Don't want to hold you too long, but how do you think this next team looks from a style perspective? How different can it be than, say, what Walter and Elijah brought to that front court and it changing a little bit?
Sure. I think Xavier and Boogie are exceptional ball handlers, dribblers, and playmakers, and I think we'll play the 2 of them together a ton, and multiple ball handlers pushing in transition, both taking outlets, both hopefully getting defensive rebounds and pushing it and trying to play as fast as possible. Obviously, one area where we'll be a little bit different is if we do have Tommy playing the 3, 10, 12, 15 minutes a night, that'll be a little bit less maybe ball handling than a Will or a Denzel, and it'll be more defending, rebounding, blending, shot making, playmaking. So I think just crushing teams on the boards, being huge defensively, 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", across the board. I think it'll be a little bit different stylistically, but I think at the end of the day, the meat and potatoes are going to be the same. We're going to want to dominate the middle third of the court, control the glass, take more shots than our opponents, be strong, physical, and ready for the competitive battles and the physicality of SEC play. And we think our front court provides a great blueprint for that. And then I think we have a couple of dynamic ball handlers, shot makers in Xavier and Boogie. And then I think between, like Dan said, between Urban and Alex and CJ and AJ and Isaiah, we have a lot of options and optionality and versatility to this roster that we're excited to see how it all shakes out and plays out. I'm not going to sit here and write the script before it happens and determine or what. I feel confident in a few guys playing, obviously key minutes, and then a lot of it will be up for grabs, and it'll be good, healthy competition with a lot of different optionality. We're excited about it.
Baby Ty Golden, you heard it from him first.
He's got the speech cadence down and everything. One final question. Man. Are you guys going to build Walter a statue?
We should, right? At least a brick.
Yeah, at least
we gotta get a statue. We need a statue.
Well, we owe the what do they call me before that 0607 team, those guys that Noah and Horford, we owe those guys some love too, and then of course obviously need to give our own Walt a ton of love, appreciation, adulation, praise, whether it's a brick, a jersey, a statue, all of the above, because whatever you want to say about it, whatever you want to say, it's that and more. He's earned it. He deserves it.
Already.
Well, I'm down for statues, all of them, man. But Jonathan, man, congratulations. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Congratulations on your promotion. We're really looking forward to this team. You did an outstanding job. I know those that are deep in the trenches of basketball absolutely love you. They think that you're an incredible asset to the Florida Gators, and we're super excited to watch your career continue to grow, my friend. And thanks so much for joining, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Awesome. Dan, Jordan, and Corey, thanks for having me. Huge fans of the show, and go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Talk soon, brother.
Stay hot.